Today on the podcast, we talk about how a curious archaeologist and an annoying 13-year-old boy teamed up to discover one of the most significant discoveries ever made for biblical archaeology. That story is coming up on this episode of Digging Deeper.
Welcome to Digging Deeper, the podcast where we talk about the geography, archaeology, people, and cultures of the land of the Bible. By exploring those areas, we hope to broaden your understanding of the biblical narrative. You can learn more about all of us here at Appian Media and watch our free video series at appianmedia.org. Our sponsors for today's episodes are the CEI Bookstore and Sacred Connections. We'll be more than happy to share a little bit more information about those two organizations a little later in our show. So, Dan, we're going to talk about these two items that have been found that you talked about, you teased just a minute ago. So first of all, let me ask you a series of questions. First of all, what is an amulet?
It's an object that is believed to confer protection to the possessor.
Okay.
We might laugh at those, that's ancient superstitions, but think about what we do. We talk about a lucky rabbit's foot, or I have to wear my lucky socks because it's game day.
Okay.
Or if you see even some of the batters in baseball where they have that routine before they step in, different actions, same idea.
Okay. And this topic of this one is the Ketef Hinnom amulets. So what is Ketef Hinnom? That's kind of a weird word. What is that?
Well, we think about the Valley of Hinnom. And so just south of that, there's the water parting ridge where if it rains, it's either going to go to the Mediterranean or to the Dead Sea. Southwest of Jerusalem's Old City, and it's where the Valley of Hinnom and the Valley of Rephaim meet. If you're familiar with church buildings, you can see the St. Andrew's Church, which is right there. It's a familiar landmark.
Right, okay. So what's special about this area?
Being south of the city and not in the city, they would have buried people there. So there's a series of Iron Age tombs and burial chambers that date back to the 6th and 7th centuries BC. So First Temple period, before the Babylonian conquest. If you've been to the Israel Museum, they have a model of a tomb. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is the one that these were found in. Okay. So it's a model of that tomb.
Okay, well, great. Well, we know where they were found. How were they found? You mentioned something earlier about a 13-year-old boy. What's that?
Well, it's a little bit of a long reading, but it's Gabriel Barkay, the archaeologist.
Okay,
It's his story.
All right.
So he says, in 1979 to 1980, I came back with a limited budget under the sponsorship of Tel Aviv University. The volunteers were 12 to 13-year-olds from Tel Aviv, members of an archaeological club for youth organized by the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. 13 is a dangerous age, but the SPNI provided the money. It was low budget. I was happy to have them nevertheless. Then he mentions about excavating around the church building. The graves were in bad shape. The roofs were collapsed. They'd been looted. And there was a road built on top of them as well, connecting Jerusalem with Bethlehem. But he says one cave had a series of headrests and burial benches. One bench was shaped like a cushion with 6 headrests. One bead was found that had been part of the burial gifts. Under the bench, we discovered a repository where they buried the bones, and I looked in that repository and saw something that looked like a rock floor. I was disappointed. Among the 13-year-old diggers, there was one annoying kid named Nathan, who was always tugging at my shirt. I thought it was an ideal place to put him. He would be out of my sight. I told Nathan the repository had to be as clean as his mother's kitchen, even if he had to lick it. It had to be clean for the photography. Not soon afterwards, I felt him tugging at my shirt again. Nathan had in his hand almost complete pottery vessels. This time, I pulled at his shirt, took him back to the area and asked him where he found them. Bored, Nathan had banged on the floor with a hammer, and under the rocks he found the pottery. So in Gabriel's words, he looked in, he didn't see anything, but the roof had collapsed, covering all of this important stuff.
Oh, wow.
Chamber 25 of Cave 24 is where it was, in this bone repository, all these treasure troves. So he sent the children home, and he brought in archaeological students, because, now we found something serious. Yeah. They worked around the clock under secrecy. They couldn't tell anybody, because Gabriel Barkay said if word got around Jerusalem that there was such a treasure, the California gold rush would be nothing compared to what had happened here.
I'm sure.
And they found thousands of objects, 125 objects of silver, 40 iron arrowheads, gold, ivory, glass, bone, 150 semi-precious stones. and there were 60 centimeters or 2 feet of accumulation filling with objects and skeletal remains.
Wow.
So just all this
Yeah.
dirt from the centuries. But what's interesting is one of the archaeological students brought to him a 1-inch wide purplish-colored object. He said it looked like a cigarette butt, but it was made of pure silver. And they saved all the excavation dirt and sifted through those in the lab, and they later found a second one. And it took them 3 years to open it without damaging it.
Wow, really?
Yes. The largest was only 4 inches long.
Wow. Okay, this is incredibly interesting. I can't wait to hear a little bit more about this finding. But let's take a moment and talk about our sponsors. During the entire history of Appian Media, we have had several companies reach out to us and offer to sell our products. One of the first to contact us was the CEI Bookstore. CEI Bookstore has been in business for over 70 years and is a nonprofit religious bookstore and retail supplier of Bibles, books, church supplies, and other religious resources. They're located in Athens, Alabama, but serve customers across the entire United States. If you're in need of any of the wonderful products that they offer, we encourage you to reach out to them through their website at truthbooks.com. Sacred Connections is a safe online space for Christians to connect and build meaningful relationships. With a focus on community and channels dedicated to various interests and events, there is something for users at every life stage. And right now, when you download the app, use the code Digging Deeper to receive a special discount for all listeners of the Digging Deeper podcast. So we invite you to start your journey today by going to their website and learning more. Their address is www.sacredconnections.com. And now, back to the show. Okay, Dan, let me ask you the most important question here. Is they found these, what was on them? You said it took them nearly 3 years to unroll them. So when they did unroll them, what did they find?
Well, initially it was hard to tell if there was anything, just because the lighting, you had to get it just right.
Yeah.
But what surprised them it was the priestly blessing from number 6. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And it was written on these. And based on the findings, this dated to around the First Temple period. Later in the 1990s, with better technology, they were able to actually photograph these and discovered there was a second verse on there from Deuteronomy 7:9. And it was the one, know that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments. The whole verse wasn't on there, but portion of it was.
Right.
So there were 2 verses. And then once again, getting into the paleography, the people who study those ancient writing systems, they said this had to be written before the destruction of Jerusalem. So 586 BC.
That's amazing.
As we go through life, we will encounter people who do not believe the Bible, and they will tell us how they think the Bible came about. The priestly blessing mentions the name Yahweh, the sacred name of God to the Hebrews. People have stated that Moses could not have written the Pentateuch, as they felt Yahweh came into use much later in time, maybe around the 5th century BC, is where it became the divine name of God and it evolved from Elohim and Adonai. While this finding doesn't prove the Pentateuch was written by Moses, nor does it prove the Bible verses written on the amulet were specifically quoted from Numbers or Deuteronomy, it does prove that those verses and the name Yahweh were in use at the end of the First Temple period, which would be at 586, which is hundreds of years earlier than the detractors had mentioned. Gabriel Barkay, he had mentioned that this was the most important find of my life, and that this is something that you find very rarely. But one of my favorite things about Gabby is that he changed his mind as he continued his career. And if you will remember, as we filmed him in Searching for a King, he mentioned his greatest discovery. Craig, if you don't mind, can you play that clip for us? Because I think it's wonderful.
What's the most unique thing that stands out to you that you've found so far there?
The people. It is amazing. Children, elderly, students, religious, non-religious, ultra-religious, all kinds of types of people. And we have had people from all 4 corners of the world. We have had an incredible number of volunteers They were about 250,000 people, which makes this project into the most exposed archaeological project in the world. To look into the eyes of a child who finds a coin which was not touched by somebody for 2,000 years, or to look into the eyes of an elderly person who realizes that he touches the sacred soil of the Temple Mount, and the excitement of these people, that is unparalleled. So the greatest discovery of mine was the people.
In closing, we too need to make people important findings in our lives. If we follow God, we are to be fishers of men, telling others the good news of salvation. We need to want the best for each person we meet. May our greeting of all the people we meet be the one from number 6. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
Digging Deeper is a production of Appian Media. We're a non-profit media production company that is 100% crowd-funded. If you're interested in learning more about how you can support Appian Media so we can continue to create more great free content, visit us at appianmedia.org/listen. If you'd like to contact either one of us, you can reach Dan at dan.kingsley@appianmedia.org, or you can reach me at barry.britnell@appianmedia.org. We would love to hear from you and answer any questions that you might have. Dan and I are in front of the microphones, but it takes many more people to produce this podcast. So a special thanks to the entire Appian Media team who are doing their part to make this a success. Join us next time as Dan and I look at how a chance finding of some shepherds in 1947 improved our knowledge of the accuracy of the Old Testament. Until then, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being with you on the next episode of Digging Deeper.